Okay, this is a video to show how to remove grease stains from a ceiling over a stove. Okay, now this house was built in 1984, so that's almost 40 years, and I've lived in the house for over 25 years, and we've never tried cleaning this ceiling over the stove. So as you can imagine, over the years, there is a buildup. Now, I should say that I've already tried cleaning this ceiling twice. I didn't think of filming this before starting. It was almost too embarrassing. But to just give you a little bit of an idea of what it might have looked like, if you look at the top of these cabinets, this little thing, even though the cabinets got cleaned, okay, the top lip doesn't. So what happens is it's kind of a brown or yellowish type stain that gets into the material. Now, because this was a textured, plastered ceiling, what had happened was, for some reason I can't explain exactly, but the prominent points, that is where the sand particles are, would turn a dark color, and then because that grease would get on them, they would actually tend to collect dust, and you actually had little filaments hanging down. It didn't look nice at all. Now, this is what I've done so far. First, I tried cleaning with Dawn. I just put some Dawn in some hot water. I figured Dawn will cut grease. It was almost just to see what would happen. I didn't want to try anything dramatic at first, just to see what I was dealing with. Actually, first thing I did was I just pulled off all these little particles that I could, almost just with my fingers, just to remove as much as I could because I didn't want that contaminating the water. Then I did it with Dawn. Okay, I let that dry for a day. Now this ceiling is plaster, which means when it gets wet, it does not soften. Nevertheless, after an application of cleaning, I like to let it sit for a day. I don't want to oversaturate it, and I want to let it dry out, because when it's wet, you can't see the coloration pattern. Okay, right now I have the light off in the kitchen because what I find is, so this is what the ceiling would look like, you might say, in a normal area, like over the other side. Okay, it's not bad. You don't see any prominent stain patterns. It's never been cleaned. There might be, I don't know, dust doesn't seem to collect on a ceiling, I guess. Okay, but over here, you'll see that. You can see that patterning. Now, the patterning is because on round 2, I used TSP. I mixed it up according to the so-called heavy-duty cleaning solution recipe, okay? And then I used a scrub brush. I used hot water, just a small amount because I'm only doing a small section. I scrubbed it. And while I was scrubbing it, honestly, I didn't really notice that it was really doing anything. So I scrubbed it for 5 or 10 minutes. Then I threw the water out. I put in rinse water, and I also then scrubbed it again. I thought if I left that TSP solution up there, I don't know, maybe that would be a bad thing. But anyway, I scrubbed it 5 or 10 minutes. I rinsed it. Then I just let it dry. And what I noticed the next day was I could actually see that there were areas in which, for whatever reason, it did seem to lighten it. And you can almost see the marks with the brush, as it were. It seems to be doing something. Before, it didn't have that type of a pattern that would be correlated with scrubbing. It was just, the pattern was just darker in the area where the stove would have been, directly over the stove. So now I'm just going to do a second round of that, okay? Because I think I'm making some progress, and it doesn't seem to be, destroying the ceiling at the same time. So I'm just going to do a second round. I'll hit pause, and we'll see if we can see any difference. Okay, I went over it for about 5 or 10 minutes with another round of the TSP. And it's wet now. I'm going to rinse it. and then I'll let it sit for a day and then take a look. And I expect I'll probably have to do this again. That area is probably darker due to being wet right now, but I expect that there'll still be probably some patterning, and I'm just going to see how it goes with increased applications. Now, I have all the lights off here because I find that in the natural light, I can see the pattern better, and when the overhead lamp is on, it casts a shadow, which makes it difficult to see what's happening over here. Now, I should say that this stove does have an overhead hood, but it doesn't vent to the outside, and we don't even tend to use it, actually. And that, may or may not contribute to the collection of grease and oils on the ceiling over time. Honestly, we never cleaned that because it wasn't clear how you would go about removing it. But now that I have some time, I'm just experimenting with trying this TSP. So anyway, I'm going to rinse it off now. I don't expect that'll make it look any different. Okay, I just rinsed it. And that's what I have. Yeah, I notice you can see quite a difference there in the edge treatment versus the top. That's probably due to it being wet, I suppose. But we'll see how this dries out tomorrow and then see how the patterning looks. I can't tell right now. It doesn't show that patterning when we started, but it could just be because it's wet. Hopefully there's been some removal of more oil. Okay, so that's it. Thanks.